These things are big. Which one do you like? Personally, I have a soft spot for the Attitude Era big winged eagle. Probably my favorite. The Punk one though is pretty cool too. It's got the spinny on it. Okay. I wanted to talk today about who is not going to WrestleMania. There are a lot of names. There are a lot of people that we need to consider on this list. You know what the biggest travesty is for WrestleMania? Who's not getting a match? Chad Gable. El Grande Americano has that honor this year. Poor Chad. Welcome everybody to Assemble. I'm Matt. So, who's missing WrestleMania? The first name that is, well, obvious because we got it confirmed, Kevin Owens. Neck injury. This is awful. I was looking forward to this match between him and Randy Orton, closing that chapter, maybe getting Mr. Kevin Owens to go off to Raw, fight Jey Uso if he wins the title, assuming he does, fight for the world title, change it up a bit. Owens had such a great story going for the last year. Yeah, it's got ups and downs, but his character work was great, and I was looking forward to having Randy and Kevin just see what they could do at Mania together. And unfortunately, because he got a neck injury, he's gonna be out for probably, it could be years, no idea. But I hope that he gets better, and I hope he can wrestle again. The next name is, well, attached to this, Randy Orton is a question mark. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking, just like I am. What are the odds that we're gonna get Nick Aldis to gear up and go after Mr. Randy Orton? I think we all need to see it happen. Could be an open challenge for Orton. He could just be frustrated. He gets another fine from Aldis for doing the RKO. Oh wait, no, he doesn't, because he paid in advance, didn't he? A long time ago. He paid ahead. So Randy and Aldis are even. I could see them doing an open challenge. You're not gonna keep Randy Orton off the card. You're not. Is he at risk of missing WrestleMania? Look, he's not gonna show up on SmackDown and just have, like, before WrestleMania and do a match and not be at Mania itself. I think that they could treat Orton like they did Seth that one year when Cody came back and Seth didn't have an opponent and they were building this to Mania. I think they could do the same thing, and you could have Malachi Black show up. That's kind of my pick. Answer an open challenge to Randy Orton. And you know what? Sometimes when injuries happen, they're awful and unfortunate, and we don't wish them, but they can force creative to do something, what's the word? Creative, and they could give us something really fun. And that's my hope with Orton, at least, and I hope Kevin Owens gets better. But you know who else is not going to be at Mania? Well, they haven't been on TV in forever. I'll give you a hint. It's a whole schmear group of people and the extra lady who's just been off TV, Wyatt 6 and Alexa Bliss. Now I mashed them all together because we haven't seen the Wyatts in many months. They were drafted apparently over to SmackDown. Okay, Bo was injured, I believe, and don't know what the status of that is. And Alexa Bliss came back at the Royal Rumble. Huge ovation, massive response, and then nothing. Now, it looked like she was going to be doing Wyatt stuff because there were glitches and logos happening whenever she was in a backstage interview, which happened like once, I think. But you have a giant talent in Alexa Bliss, somebody who could have won the Royal Rumble. Maybe they should have. And she's nowhere. Just not seeing nothing. Don't know. I feel like that's a big missed opportunity. What do you think? And you know what? A lot of people on this list, they could end up having a Mania match. They could show up at WrestleMania and surprise us, and maybe they go down that path. I know that WWE nowadays, they got the 2-night WrestleMania, and they don't want to overload the shows. They don't want to do 15 matches per night. The Vince days of 8-hour WrestleMania, that was a lot. And I don't want to just put people on the card either, just for the sake of, hey, they got on TV. I just wish that they were in a program and that they would get that opportunity. That's all. Because the next person, I feel, should be at WrestleMania in a pretty good spot. Chelsea Green, your Women's United States Champion. I love Chelsea. I love the secret harvest that they're doing. I think the whole group and dynamic is fun, and I just wish that she was in like an actual feud. I know that she is battling it out right now with Zelina Vega, but I don't see that getting to WrestleMania and on the card. Hasn't been built for very long. My only hope is that maybe they do a 6-woman tag, but at the same token, Alba and Piper, they're going to be in the women's tag team gauntlet match that we'll talk about in a minute. And I hope they win, because then they will be on the card and then they could win the tag team titles. And then you got the Secret Harvest has all the gold, and that would just be hilarious and fun. But Chelsea gets huge pops, massive reactions whenever she goes. And she's a great talent. She just isn't in a story. She just fights Zelina and Michin every week. They got to fix that post-Mania. I hope Chelsea makes it on. She's not like the SmackDown go home before Mania. They could have built something really strong with her and they didn't. Next up, two of them. I guess they're a tag team now. Carmelo Hayes and The Miz. Carmelo, remember he was drafted as #1 to SmackDown and had a match against Cody, and then not much happened. He had a great series of matches against Andrade and mixing it up for the US title, and I really like that. Seems like WWE hasn't figured out what they would want to do with Carmelo. Now, I will say, I am enjoying what he's doing with The Miz every single week. They are starting to be a team, but they're not there yet. Do they fast track this to a multi-man tag team match at WrestleMania like they did last year and shove every SmackDown team into a ladder match or something? Could totally happen, but The Miz is like pretty big name and he's usually at WrestleMania, even if he has like not a ton going on. The Miz has enough name value and cachet built up that you'd think that he would be able to get on the card. Hey, we don't know either. Are they gonna do like a Andre Battle Royal thing? That could be the case, and then that's where you get them showcased for this thing. And that's usually like the SmackDown before. Again, it's not gonna be at WrestleMania. And I'm not a huge Miz fan either. I appreciate his work. He's been around forever. But Carmelo, he needs some love, man. I am looking at this list, by the way, and I'm kind of going through it like, wow, these people are not at Mania, and it's kind of surprising based off of how much they were used throughout the year. For example, next up, Nia Jax. Where's Nia? She's just gone, man. She did Elimination Chamber, boom, gone from all stories. And even before then, she dropped the title. That really, they pulled back. You know, that Charlotte Tiffany feud, it could kind of use a Nia Jax just to break up the awkward tension that is going on in there. But I am surprised that they don't use Nia in any other way. Also, why wouldn't she be in the women's tag team gauntlet match with Candice? They're a team. Put them together. Also, Candice is speed champion. But Nia Jax, for the year that she had, like 2024, winning Queen of the Ring, champion for a while, she was doing really good work, and I was enjoying how big dominant heel she was and big dominant champion she was. And they're just not using her whatsoever. I think that was a mistake, and they should have found something, especially with the way this Charlotte Tiffany feud has been going. Woo-wee. Now, next on my list is a personal favorite of Matt's, and he is not sniffing WrestleMania. And I think it's a travesty. Karrion Kross. He popped up on Monday Night Raw out of nowhere, and he's got a Raw match. He's not getting anything at WrestleMania. I was kind of hoping that it would be like Kross versus Sami Zayn at Mania after the Kevin Owens match and all that died down, because they were kind of teasing stuff. With Kross, they like tease a lot of stuff of where they could put him in, but he doesn't even get on TV on Raw. He will in a week, but he doesn't have TV matches. I know he's on main event, but I think the dude puts in excellent work. I love his character work. Yeah, he doesn't have Final Testament, but even before that, when they were released, he was still doing things kind of on his own. Him and Scarlett are great packaging. That entrance at WrestleMania would be amazing. And I'm really surprised that they wouldn't have found something over the last several months to put Kross in. I think he would be great if he was in that fatal 4-way match for the Intercontinental Championship. Make it a 5-way. Kross could have been mixing it up with Judgment Day and Braun Breaker and Penta and messing with everybody. Getting him in there and justifying why he should be in a title match. No, not even just a title match. It doesn't have to be that way, but I feel like he could have been something. Just wish the guy was on the card. Now, another name, I guess he's just taking time off for now until post-Mania, but Sami Zayn. He had the match at Elimination Chamber against Kevin Owens, and that's all she wrote. Really a shame. You got Kevin Owens injured and you got Sami Zayn out. Two guys that main evented WrestleMania. Kind of surprised they wouldn't have brought Sami back for something, but I'm wondering if they knew that they weren't going to use Sami at Mania, and so they did the blow off at Chamber and they did it in that direction. Maybe also, now in retrospect, maybe it also had to do with Kevin Owens' injury, and they knew they wanted to get to WrestleMania with the Randy Orton match for him, and that's where we got that big unsanctioned match at Chamber. But Sami's a huge name, and you got him in nothing. Solo Sikoa. Solo is in an interesting position though. I think Solo will appear at WrestleMania. Just don't think he'll be in a match, and that's okay. I mean, for a while there, it felt like, for me anyways, that we would get Jacob versus Solo at Mania. They kind of pivoted, and then they said, yeah, you know what, maybe we can stretch this thing out a little bit. I think it's going to be a feud coming out of WrestleMania. We got Jacob versus LA Knight for the US title at Mania. That's amazing. Jacob Fatu has exploded in the last 12 months since arriving at WWE on the main roster. It's kind of wild to see one guy really escalate up the card that quickly and to get into prominent roles. So having a singles match at Mania already in his first year, kudos to him. But I do think Solo gets involved, so kind of like a prediction, but Jacob could lose the match against LA Knight, come close, and they kind of do the Cody spot where Solo gets up on the ring apron and spikes Jacob. LA Knight picks up the win, retains at Mania, so he can continue to build LA Knight as US champion, and then Solo and Jacob can go off and do their thing. So I think he's going to be at Mania because he will accompany Jacob to the ring. But you need that moment of like the beatdown, the betrayal, then that sets up their feud for probably the next couple of months. An interesting name here that is nowhere to be seen. Sheamus. For so long, it has felt like Sheamus's story has been finishing the story of the Intercontinental title, the one title that he has not been able to claim. I love this era of Sheamus that we have had for the last couple of years. Triple threat at Mania with Drew and Gunther was amazing. Kind of surprised that they didn't want to heat Sheamus up for the last couple of months and keep him in the IC title hunt. Have matches or more matches against Braun Breaker. Again, I look at that fatal four-way for the IC title and I'm like, yeah, you could have had Sheamus in there. I feel bad for the guy. I like Sheamus. Now, somebody who's been on TV a lot, done a lot of big man matches, is that big SOB, Braun Strowman. Now, to be fair, Braun has been featured a lot in the last year, and he's been doing those big man matches, big man spots, which has been great, and it's been helping to put other talent over. And while it might be cool to see Braun Strowman in some kind of match at WrestleMania, I don't know where he would have fit in unless he made it into the US title scene and won that match, or they made it a multi-man match. But again, you don't want 10 different multi-man matches at WrestleMania just to get people on the card. So I understand it. And again, this is not where I'm like, hey, we need to get all these people on the card no matter what. If the story doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. But Braun Strowman, I think he's not making it to Mania. Next, a lot of people. I'm just gonna bucket this as all the women who do not win the tag team gauntlet match. We're gonna have a #1 contender for the women's tag team titles, and you have, as I show on screen here, all of these superstars and teams. They're not making it to Mania other than the winners. And right now, like I said earlier, I think I'm gonna pick Piper and Alba to win, to go on to be #1 contenders. My other pick is going to be Lyra and Bayley. They came off a really good match on Monday Night Raw. Can they coexist? If they win, that gets Bayley on the card. Lyra is your Intercontinental Champion. You're not gonna have a US champion or the Intercontinental Champion on the women's side. These new titles, like come on, they've been out just for a few months at this point. They're not gonna be there at WrestleMania in any type of feud or capacity. So I could see them putting Lyra and Bayley in the tag team match against Liv and Raquel because they have played with that a little bit on Raw. And you could have it where Bayley turns on Lyra during the match or at the end if they don't win. That could set up an actual feud, good guy versus bad guy. And that's the other name, Lyra. If they don't win the tag match, there's a lot of names, but a prominent name, Bayley, not making it to WrestleMania, which would seem odd, and Lyra putting in good work every single week, but they haven't built any stories and any feuds around her other than just putting out good matches against like Ivy Nile, Dakota Kai, Bayley, and doing that on TV. And that's great. No, not everyone's gonna make it to the card, but it's a title. You kind of think you would get a lot of your titles or all of your titles on WrestleMania's card. But with no feud, it makes total sense. I just think that without this tag team title spot, Lyra's not making it to Mania. And there are other names here, everybody. I know you can just go through the roster literally bit by bit, and it would take us 30, 50 minutes to go through it all. You have American Made, Otis, Tozawa, so many other names on the roster. War Raiders and New Day, probably making it to WrestleMania since it ended in a DQ. I could see them trying to get those tag titles and get that heated up for the last 2 weeks and get that to the card. The SmackDown tag team titles for the men. Motor City Machine Guns are #1 contenders against the Street Profits. I feel like that's on SmackDown. If that ends in a schmoz, I can see them doing a multi-man match for the WWE tag titles at WrestleMania. Maybe that is a ladder match because they have done a good job, in my opinion, of building up the SmackDown tag division to make every team kind of feel like they have a chance. They've been flipping the titles around a bit. It's been more exciting. So I can see them wanting to get all of those tag teams on the card. But as we said earlier, the biggest travesty of all, Chad Gable, not at WrestleMania. But we all kind of win, don't we? Because we're gonna get El Grande Americano at WrestleMania. Who are you disappointed that is probably not going to be at WrestleMania? And if you guys want to talk about Monday Night Raw, Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman favor that we might get, apparently. Raw recap is right here. Subscribe to the channel if you can, and have a great day. See ya.